Greetings from your queen of Ooga Booga, that is. Hi, I'm Sally Diane, and welcome to this week's palm reading. Before we get started with our palm readings, I want to remind everybody to share and subscribe to our channel. And also, for those of you who would like a palm reading, I would be delighted to do that for you. Just send me 2 pictures of your palms, one of your left, one of your right. Make sure you include your thumb, your fingers, and I'd like it that much of your hand. And also make sure you relax your hand a little bit. Don't make it stiff like that, because then I can't read your mounds. Send them to thequeenofoogabooga@gmail.com. And when we read your palms, we will send you an email letting you know when your episode is being aired. Without further delay, this week's palm readings. And now, Teri B's palm reading. And Teri is a creative person. She's an intuitive person. She's a wood rat. Sorry, just had to double check. She's a wood rat. She's an artist. She's a healer. Teri's a little bit shy. I think she's uncertain. She's uncertain in areas of love, and she doesn't always know who to trust. And sometimes she stands by the wrong people. You need to pay more attention to your instincts about people, because you really do have some good psychic ability, Teri. But I think that once you start caring about somebody, you sort of overlook that. So we want to quit doing that. You are a well-liked person. It looks like once you hit midlife, and you're not quite there yet, but once you hit, say your late 40s, early 50s, you're going to find that life gets a lot more exciting for you. And I like the energies I get even going into old age. It feels like somewhere around your, right around your late 40s, you're going to kind of come into your own. And I think you're going to find your own voice. And, it's okay to be a late bloomer, Teri. I like the way you reach out in the world to the world. You reach out to the world in a very controlled way. I think you could be a little bit more relaxed around people. You have good lead by example abilities, and that's you don't realize that people see you as the one that does things right, and you are actually an example for people, so keep that in mind, that people respect you a little bit more than you realize. When I look at Teri's headline, it seems to be a lot more frayed in reality than what she was born to. And what I see here is somebody who lets other people influence her. It's kind of like, even when you know you're right, somebody can convince you that you're wrong. And it's time for you to have a little bit more faith in your own self and your own thought processes, which gets right back to that part of don't doubt yourself. When you doubt yourself, you discount yourself. So quit doing it. You're a lot more talented than you realize. And I think that you should blow your horn a little bit more. You know what that means. And you should quit letting people steal your ideas. Okay. So, Teri, thank you for sending in your palms. Tune in next week. And on to the next reading. And now, Christine K. And Christine K is a Cancer born in the year of the Earth Rooster. She is, when I look at her hand, she is an extroverted introvert. So people will see her as being outgoing. She's communicative. She has strong leadership ability. She reaches out in the world in a very open way, and yet what people don't realize is she's actually quite introverted. She loves her time alone. She loves her time to create, to think, just to get away from the freaking noise. But it works for Christine, and it works for those around her. When I see Christine's heart line, she tends to stand by people way too long. And it's always a matter that she knows she should say no, enough, no more, no more, no more with the person. But sometimes she finds herself being an enabler, because it's tough for her to make no stick. I do see what I call the line, the mark of Cain in her heart line, and that talks to me about sibling rivalry. And in your case, it feels like true sibling rivalry, where you have, whether it's a brother or a sister, there's someone that just, no matter how hard you try to get along with this person, you just can't. And it seems like you were born with a special nerve for this person, because they just annoy the snot out of you, even though you love them. And that's what that line's all about. You're an independent person. You've chosen a very unique path. You know, when I talked about you being an extroverted introvert, it shows up on your mound of Venus, because that talks about the love you receive. And it seems like you keep your circle of close friends very small. Although I think you have a lot of acquaintances. And you are favorably aspected in the area of travel. In this lifetime, you will do, what they used to call in Victorian times a grand tour, whether you're going to do a tour of Asia or Europe. I think it's going to be Europe, but I'll just throw both of them out there just to be sure. You do have, I'm not saying that you have only one relationship in your life, but you have one that matters. You have one that's long, and deep and committed. I see 2 pregnancies around you. I know one will be successful. I don't know about the other one. Okay, well, it's been delightful reading you, Christine. Thank you so much for sending in your palms. And now, Kimberly. Kimberly was born February 20th, 1991, which makes her an Aquarius water goat. And I would say water bearer definitely applies to Kimberly. She's a creative person. She's a giving person. She's an independent person, independent thinker, always has been. She reaches out to the world with open arms. She has this artistic ability to her. She has a very strong fate line, and she has a long lifeline. If she has a short lifeline, I'm chicken about that. I don't say anything about that. She does have kind of life that is going to carry her away from her family a little bit. That may or may not be a bad thing. It just is. I think we're just looking at geographical distance here. This is a person who's going to do a lot of traveling in her lifetime. She has some very strong travel lines over on this side of her hand. But overall, Kimberly comes across as a very even person. Sweet, artistic. People probably don't realize how kind and talented Kimberly is when they first meet her. Thank you so much for sending in your palm, Kimberly. And now, April. April has April has an emotional hand. I have to say that. I think that she might be easily excitable. I do think she's a smart person, and people underestimate her intelligence. In the long run, no matter where she is, in the long run, she always ends up in a leadership position. And it doesn't really take her too long to prove herself. You know, that what you see, you know, that first impression of April is not all there is. There's a lot more beneath the surface. She does have very strong leadership ability. I think that she overthinks things, and she might get distracted in the process of thought too, because about halfway through her headline, it just starts going off in all kinds of different directions. I think April could benefit from, say, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, any of the meditative exercises that would help you get you grounded and centered, because it's easy for you to become ungrounded and uncentered. So that's going to be a challenge throughout your life, because once you're grounded and centered, you are just amazing, girl. You do have good psychic ability, although I think you're a little afraid of them, and you're not really developing them as you should. You have a great many friends. The one thing you don't realize, and I'm just telling you a little secret here, some of your friends are jealous of you, and I know you don't understand why, but they are. So if you feel like your friend might be sabotaging you a little, that's why. Okay. You have a really nice heart line, which is no surprise to me. It's deep. You trust everybody. You're no fool, though. You do not let people take advantage of you. You've got your deal breakers. And there's also, there's a real funny sibling rivalry kind of line in your heart line. I think that there are kind of sibling rivalry type issues around you, but I don't think it's actually with a sibling. I think we might be looking at cousin or a very, very close friend. Alrighty, you're balanced in the area of will and logic. So you do have good planning and execution skills. Have a little bit more faith in yourself on that. Okay, and thank you so much for sending in your poem, April. And now, Rhonda. Rhonda is, she's a strong person. She's an opinionated person. She's more well-liked than she realizes. I think she has trouble communicating with the outside world in certain ways. It seems like she's very quick in the way she deals with the outside world. I think she might be quick to jump to her conclusions, and that's not good for her. I think that you might want to parse your words a little bit nicer sometimes. And when I look at your heart line, though, Rhonda's heart is in the right place. She's a loving person, and the things she does and says she does from a place of love. I see that Rhonda has, you have a strong headline, you have a good thought process, you just think about things too long, and your imagination takes over. I think you were a bit of a late bloomer. It took you until you were in your 20s until you really started to get to know yourself. And I'm really not picking up much on your childhood. Perhaps you don't remember it very well. Now, when I look at your lifeline, I see a period right in your mid-50s where it's really choppy in your lifeline. And I think that's a period of your life where you're dealing with personal dramas, a lot of them. It's just, you've got about 10 years of one after another, after another, after another, after another. And it just feels like maybe it's a time for you to start meditating and asking yourself, what is the universe trying to tell me? Anyhow, Rhonda, thank you very much for sending in your palm. And tune in again to Palm Readings with Sally Diane. Today, we will be taking a question from my producer. And what is today's question?
Today's question is, what is scrying?
Ooh, good question. Scrying is a form of divination. That means to see past the veil. Sometimes it's to see into the future, but a lot of times it's just to see details that you might be overlooking or missing. Scrying is very third eye. It's very meditative. The idea of scrying is to get into kind of a meditative or trance-like state, and then to focus your attention in the middle of something. For example, people use black scrying mirrors where they will look beyond the surface of the mirror and focus their energy there. Or I've seen people get a black bowl, and this is a really good way of doing it. Get a bowl with a dark bottom and fill it halfway full of water, and then float a couple of rose petals on the top of it. And then put your focus not to the bottom of the bowl, but to the center of the water. My favorite way of scrying is, as you can tell, crystal balls. And I want to show you one crystal ball in particular. This is made out of a crystal called selenite. And selenite has just a whole ton of good qualities. And one of selenite's qualities is enhancing psychic ability. I use selenite when I'm doing mediumship to draw spirit in. And the selenite crystal ball is good for a couple of reasons. First, selenite crystal balls will be your most economical crystal ball, so it saves you money. And I know we're used to seeing a crystal ball that's clear, but with the selenite, and I hope that I can get this on camera, the selenite has what I call windows, and that's on either side of them. I hope that you can see that somehow. But there is a little clear window here, and you can actually look into the window and put your focus into the middle of the crystal, and it just drops you into a very receptive trance-like state, and you will pick up messages that way. It's slow and meditative, but it's also very calming. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you the next time here on the Queen of Ooga Booga. Remember to send your questions to the queenofoogabooga@gmail.com. Like and subscribe, and bright blessings and love from the Queen.